Well guys, Mythical Island, the latest mini expansion of Pokemon TCG Pocket has been announced.
What's up guys, it's me Mochi. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so I can eat.
It is a set headlined by Mew, Aerodactyl and Celebi, and it looks really good. There are some awesome cards. There's going to be 80 cards in the set, or over 80 cards in the set, and it's looking like it's going to shake up the meta. I'd like to look at a few ideas I've thought of just looking at some of these cards initially. So I won't show you the card list, but I'm going to talk about a few of the new cards in particular. Vaporeon here is very interesting. It is a standard full art Vaporeon, and it has an ability called Washout. Now, Washout allows you as often as you like on your turn to move an energy from one of your bench Pokemon to your active Pokemon. That means you can shift an unlimited amount of energies from a bench Pokemon to your on-field Pokemon. Now, I think this is going to have incredible synergy with both the Misty card and Blastoise EX. It'll work with a lot of decks, but I just think that this could be a pretty cool deck. I've called it Shifting Tides as a little tentative name, but I think we could have a lot of fun with this. I've kind of put together a little bit of a mini deck list here. So we're looking at 2 Squirtles, 2 Wartortles, 2 Blastoise. I think we'd run 2 Vapo and 2 Eevee, but I was thinking maybe we could go down to 1. Because really you only do need 1 Vaporeon in action. Now, I've gone for a Bruxish, a single Bruxish, but I was thinking if we did drop to 1 Vaporeon, probably do 2 Eevees, 1 Vaporeon, maybe 2 Bruxish. We need something up front that's a bit of a bully that does fast damage, and Bruxish can fit that mold. I thought about Articuno, regular Articuno, but I think regular Articuno might be a little bit too slow to get going. It is only 1 turn more than Bruxish, but it's just a little slow. The other alternative, of course, is to go for something like a Golduck, Psyduck Golduck, or even going for like a bit of a meme with Goldeen Seeking. I think the balance here, I'm thinking, is something up front that does a little bit of bullying and soaking and good early damage. And then all in the while, you're setting up your Eevee to Vaporeon on the bench. You're feeding energies into both your on-field / bench. And then you get to a point where you've got so much energy, Blastoise comes on the field. And of course, Blastoise's ability, Hydro Bazooka, does 100 damage plus a whopping additional 60 damage if he's got at least 2 extra energies on him. So this way, you can potentially feed those extra energies to Blastoise extremely quickly by using Vaporeon's ability. Between Misty and Vaporeon, I think this deck could do some serious cooking. And there's probably a bunch of new cards coming in the set as well, which would maybe be even better than the current cards we have available. But I think this is going to be a way to maybe push Blastoise to be in an S tier deck. Just how we balance this deck is going to be kind of interesting, but I think this is like a good base concept, which could be pretty cool. All right, next up, we have the Marshadow card, which looks really interesting. Now, it's got an ability called, or a move called Revenge. And if any of your Pokemon were knocked out the turn before by damage from your opponent, it does an extra 60 damage, dealing 100 damage, which is massive. I thought this would be extremely good on an aggro deck. Mankey Promo plus Primeape plus Marshadow feels extremely strong. You're already doing 100 damage a turn with Primeape, and if you bring Marshadow in with Revenge, I think that could be really interesting, and this could be a serious sweeper deck that actually really gives the meta some trouble. I haven't put too much thought into the rest of the deck, but I think it'll be a pretty standard arrangement. I think all you really need is probably the double Marshadow, double Mankey, double Primeape. Maybe you can throw in a couple of like basics, like a Hitmonlee or a Hitmonchan, or just something to complement it. I've also had thoughts that maybe you could do like a fun Graplocked build with Marshadow, but at the moment, I think this is kind of standing out as the best combination. And again, there's going to be more cards coming in Mythical Island, so there could potentially be some other options. The next one I want to talk about is the brand new Mew card. It is very interesting. I've got Ditto on screen because Mew is kind of like a superior Ditto in a sense. Ditto's ability to copy anything means you have to have the exact energies available. So if you want to copy an Articuno's ability, you need to have 3 water energies on it, which isn't too good. Whereas Genome hacking, you only need any energy to copy any move. So it's quite interesting. There may be a world where you can run Ditto and Mew together. I don't know if you ever would, but it could be an option. But yeah, this is a very interesting card. You could, in essence, run Mew with many different decks and different typings, multi-energy decks. Yes, you would have Psychic Energy due to having Psyshot, but due to the 3 colorless, you could easily run this with pretty much any other typing, and it could be extremely useful. It is a pretty low HP EX, so it is pretty vulnerable and pretty niche, and could backfire pretty easily. But got a lot of potential to be that real like ace card, that real kind of game turner. A question mark on the left is basically just because really I haven't really thought about what I'd run this with. You could honestly, I haven't thought about, you could potentially make a really cool Gengar deck with this, but again, it's all kind of up in the air at the moment until we see the new cards. I mean, there's a Celebi card coming as well, and it's just going to be interesting. It's just an interesting card to talk about. The last card I want to talk about is Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl EX is one of the headline cards and it looks extremely interesting. It is a 2-cost Pokemon with 140 HP dealing 80 damage, but that is not what we're excited about. We're excited about its ability, Primeval Law. It doesn't specify, but I would say there is a 99% chance this has to be on field for the ability to take effect, because if it has to be on the bench only, it's extremely overpowered. So basically the ability Primeval Law, your opponent can't play any Pokemon from their hand to evolve the active Pokemon. If they want to evolve Pokemon, they have to evolve them on the bench first. It's not a massive disadvantage, but it's a pretty big disadvantage if they got locked on the field with like a 2 or 3 retreat Cosmon, or like they've got an Ivysaur on field as a good example and can't get the Venusaur. Like that would be a severe disadvantage. I think this could work in a multi-energy deck. I think this could probably work with a Mankey and Primeape Progression deck, but looking at this, you want it on the field pretty early. You'd want it doing damage early, so you're probably going to want to run this with low cost, easy to use mons. Maybe you're even looking like a Kangaskhan, maybe you're looking like a Hitmonlee. Hitmonlee could be very interesting. In fact, if you're chipping down the bench, they're losing their options. They can't evolve the on-field. You're taking out the bench at the same time. Like, I think that could be a pretty interesting dynamic. A lot of things could happen with this Aerodactyl. Who knows? But I think this is another very interesting card, and I'm just so excited for this meta, dude, for the new meta. And lastly, I just want to talk about the brand new trainers. We have a Blue and Leaf. I don't know where Red is. So Blue is kind of like a reverse Giovanni. So during your opponent's next turn, you take 10 less damage, which is actually going to be tactically a really interesting card. This card here could basically change the outcome of games. Think of the amount of times where their win condition is Giovanni. You can nullify Giovanni. So it's a very interesting card and adds a lot of counterplay and even more mind games, which I like, because this, at the moment, Pocket is fairly simple and straightforward. Yes, there are definitely some games which are sweaty with a lot of decision making, when to switch things and retreat, etc. I think this adds another layer, which I'm very excited about. And Leaf is kind of interesting. I think it makes some of those high retreat cost Pokemon a little more viable, but I don't know if it's as good as having 2 individual like X speeds, because you're using 1 card and it's a supporter card, and you got to think about the effect of supporter cards stacking. You can only use 1 per turn. X speeds you can use 2 in 1 turn type of thing. So I mean, it saves you an item slot for a 2 cost, but I'm not sure how heavily utilized Leaf will be used apart from in some niche scenarios, but it is an interesting card to have. All right, well, I will leave this video here. I just wanted to quickly run over some of the new cards. There are of course a number of other new cards which have been released. None quite as noteworthy. There's some decent basic mons. There's an interesting new Magmar, which could be very good in an alternative Blaine deck. There's a few other nice cards in a new Executor, etc. But this is just my thoughts, early thoughts on just some of the cards I've seen, and maybe some of like the directions some of the decks might go. Of course, there's going to be over 80 cards, or at least 80 cards in the set. So there's tons of cards that I haven't even looked at or seen and aren't released yet, which could completely change any of the things I've talked about. It could be better versions of what I talked about. It could be worse. But yeah, just some thoughts. So anyway, guys, if you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys on the next one.